Hello, children. Welcome back to another wonderful video. Today, Mr. Sankey does not get frustrated. Mr. Sankey wins technology. So, we are going to be talking about slope and rate of change today. So, when we talk about slope is the steepness of a graph. It is telling you how much the graph is changing as things are going on throughout this graph. It says if it's a really high slope, it's going to be a really steep graph. A really steep graph might look something like that. That would be a really steep graph. If it's a low graph, something kind of like this, then that's going to be not as steep of a graph. And so we talk about slope. That's going to be something really important. We're going to hit this a lot this year. In this chapter. Next year, we're going to talk about it, and we're really going to get into it in algebra. So getting a good head start on it this year will be helpful for you. So when it comes to slopes, there are 4 types of slopes you want to know about. And so I'm going to draw 4 mini graphs here so we can label each of these with a different type of slope. All right, so we have a positive slope. We have a negative slope. We have a 0 slope. And we have defined. Let me rewrite that. An undefined slope. Struggle with that one for a second. An undefined slope. So we have a positive, negative, 0, and undefined. If you want to draw these into your notebook as just quick sketches so you can see the general look of what these slopes look like. So a positive slope is a slope that rises up and to the right. Say up and to the right, that's a positive slope. Negative slope goes down and to the right. Okay, so it's looking in this direction, it's positive. This direction going down would be negative. A 0 slope is a slope that doesn't rise up or down. It just goes straight side to side. And an undefined slope is a slope that goes straight up and down. Okay, so 4 types of slopes here. So if I were to draw a slope on my graph, and it looked like this, what kind of slope would that be? Well, that would be a negative slope. Yes, because it's going down. Negative slopes go down. All right, now, in order to find slope, in order to find the slope of a line. Let me put a line on my graph here. I'm going to make a nice, good, straight line. Whoops. I'm going to make a nice, good, straight line here. Do a line right here. All right, so if we have this line here, in order to find the slope, we do what is called the rise over run, or how much you're going up and down compared to how much you are going side to side. Now, the rise over run means I'm going to take 2 points on my slope. Okay, I'm going to take 2 points. I'm going to find 2 points where I have good points on my graph. Okay, 2 points. I got a good point here and a good point here. And I want to make a fraction talking about how high my graph rises. This is the change in y values over how far my graph runs or goes side to side. This is the change in my x values. Okay, so for this graph specifically, to get to these 2 points here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 places. I'm going to rise 4 places. And I'm going to go side to side 1 place. I'm going to run 1 place. So this is a rise over run of 4 over 1. And 4 divided by 1 is 4. So I would say this is a slope of 4. Okay, so slope is how far I go up and down over how far I go side to side. Okay, so this would be a slope of 4. Now, let's say, well, let's get rid of this. Let's say I had a graph that looked like this. Actually, let me give you some points first. We'll do a point here and here. We'll do 2 points there and there. And let's graph this by using my ruler so I have a nice good straight line. All right, let's see what this goes here. All right, now, this graph. Is this a positive graph or a negative graph? This is a negative graph. So I know my slope is going to be negative. Now I want to figure out my rise over run. So to get from one point to another, I'm going to go up 1 over 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to rise 1 over 3, and this is a negative graph. So I have a slope of negative 1, 3. All right, that is slope. Slope is just finding out how much my graph goes up and down compared to how much my graph goes side to side. And we call that rise over run. You're going to hear about rise over run for a little while, right? We're going to be hearing about, anytime we talk about graphing, we talk about this kind of linear functions, we're going to be talking about rise over run. That's always how we find slope. Rise over run will always help us find the slope. All right, now let's see about our second thing here, which is rate of change. This is the slopes of different points on a graph. Okay, the slopes of different points on a graph. So make sure you get that written. If you need to pause, write that in. But I'm going to zoom in here to my graph, make it nice and big so we can see what we are working with. And I'm going to put a couple different points on here. I'm going to put a point right here, point right here, point right here, point right here, and point right here. Okay? So I've given you multiple different points here. And we want to find the rate of change over this graph. So let me draw my lines connecting my points. All right, and then let me redraw my points just so we can see them all nice and clear. All right, so the rate of change is going to say, all right, well, what is my slope in between these points? Well, remember, my slope is always going to be rise over run, okay? So this first, in between these first two, I'm going to rise 1, 2, and go over 1. So this is a slope of 2 over 1 or 2. To my second 2 points, I rise 1 over 1 or 1 over 1, which is a slope of 1. My third 2 points here, I go up 1, rise of 1 over a run of 1, 2, 3, a slope of 1/3. And then my last 2 points, I'm going to go, let me change my color here. going to go up 1, 2, 3 over 2 for a slope of 3 over 2. So these here are my rates of change. So this is 4 different rates of change. My graph doesn't have one constant slope. It has 4 different slopes, and those are my rates of change that occur over my graph. So rates of change is my graph adjusting as different things might be happening. My graph adjusts the slopes, and so it's good to know if I have steep slope, right? The bigger the number, is a steep slope, and the smaller number is a not steep slope. All right, let me zoom on in here again. Let me find for you to get a slope on your own. As we wrap up our lesson here, writing slopes as rise over run, I want you to find me the slope that occurs between these 2 points. The slope that occurs between these 2 points here. What is the slope between these 2 points? All right, good luck, children. I will see all of you tomorrow, where we can talk more about slope and how wonderful it all may be. Until then, have a good night.